Hello everyone, this is Rick. Welcome to another episode of the Mauryan Empire series. Today we will discuss about the social and economic condition of people during the Mauryan period. In our last video we have discussed about the Mauryan administration. So now moving forward we are going to see how the Mauryan society used to function and what were the economic conditions of the people during that same time. So, without doing any delay, let's get into detail. Social and economic condition of the Mauryan period. Research on Mauryan period highlights its complex social and economic and religious conditions. So during the Mauryan period, the social, economic and religious condition was very much complex. There was not a single line in which the society and economy used to function. Focus on language, literature, and art from this era indicates a rich cultural tapestry. So, if we focus on the language, literature, art, and culture of this period, then we will know that this period was filled with richness in the field of culture. Social organization was structured around Varna with significant roles assigned to Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, and Sudras. So there were social roles assigned to each of the Varnas, and the main four Varnas were, as usual, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, and Shudras. Economic strategies involved agriculture, crafts, and a vast network of trade within and outside India. So, economic strategies involved both agriculture and crafts, and there was trade or commercial activities done within India or outside India also. Historians like Kautilya and Megasthenes provide primary insights into the period elaborated in texts such as Arthashastra. So Megasthenes' text Indica and Kautilya's text Arthashastra provides a great depth of analysis on the social and economic condition of the Mauryan period. Now, how was the influence of Brahmanas in the Mauryan society? Brahmanas maintained the highest social status and influenced the ideological and religious spheres. So they were in the highest of the social status, and as usual, they influenced all the ideological activities on the state, and also they used to control the religious policies that a state should follow. They performed essential religious rites and were advisors to rulers possessing wealth and powers. So, Brahmanas acted as teachers to the rulers or advisors to the rulers who were mainly Kshatriyas, and also they did all the essential religious rites. Nothing related to religion could be done without the assent of Brahmanas. Conflicts with Kshatriyas were very much notable, focusing on the struggle for power and autonomy. So, during this period, we find that Brahmanas involved themselves in conflict with the second most important Varna, that is Kshatriya. And that was a very notable conflict, and that focuses on the struggle for power and autonomy. Who will be the autonomous controller of this society? Kautilya suggested severe punishment for Brahmanas who committed crimes, reflecting their complex social role. Since Brahmanas were supposed to be the epitome of moral discipline, therefore, if any Brahman committed any kind of crime, then the punishment was more severe in nature than the ordinary people who committed the same crime, and that was suggested by Kautilya, which reflects the complexity in the social role of Brahmins. Despite their power, there was a decline in their authority due to the rise of Buddhism and economic shift. So, at this point of time, Buddhism gained very much importance and influence. So, despite the power of the Brahmanas, because of the gain in popularity of Buddhism, Brahmanas were seen to have declined in their authoritarian power. Now, duties and military role of Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas were the ruling class or the warrior class. They had several duties and were very important in the sphere of military. Kshatriyas were primarily warriors and rulers, central in maintaining order and executing governance. So they were rulers and they were also the defenders or warriors in the kingdom whose main role was to maintain order, and executive power of the governance was also given to the Kshatriyas. Their role expanded during the Mauryan period to include significant administrative and military responsibilities. So before this, Kshatriyas were only rulers or warriors, but during the Mauryan period, they also performed executive functions. Therefore, during the Mauryan period, their role seems to have been expanded with capable administrative authority under them. The consolidation of power under Kshatriyas led to the development of a strong central state. So it is assumed that the consolidation of power under the Kshatriyas is what led the Mauryans to become a strong central state in the Indian politics or in the politics of the world at that period of time. Megasthenes notes their second status in social hierarchy with substantial freedom. So, according to Megasthenes, the role of Kshatriyas were second to that of Brahmanas, and they were second in status in social hierarchy, but they had substantial amount of freedoms in them also. Their economic activities included oversight of agriculture and trade, enhancing their influence. So, their economic activities were to oversee the agriculture and trade performed by the state or any kind of guilds, and thus their influence was very much enhanced during the Mauryan period. Now, economic contributions of the Vaisyas. Who were the Vaisyas and what economic role did they play during the time of Mauryan Empire? Vaisyas were engaged in agriculture, cattle rearing, and trade, vital for economic development. So, the role of Vaisyas was that they were engaged in agriculture, cattle rearing, and trade, and thus they mainly controlled the economy of the Mauryan period. Their function was very much vital for the gaining of economic resources in the governance. They faced social mobility issues but improved their status through economic success. So, before Vaishyas got economic success, their social hierarchy was considered to be very much low to that of the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. But with the gain in economic success, they sorted out the issue of social mobility. Their role was crucial in urban settings, contributing to market and industrial growth. So it was them who helped in the setting up of urban culture, contributing to the market and industrial growth of the Mauryan Empire. Resentment existed among Vaishyas due to the restrictions and denied positions of prestige. So Vaishyas faced some kind of discrimination in the government because they could not get higher posts like that of the Brahmanas or Kshatriyas. Therefore, there was a form of resentment among the Vaishyas because they were subdued by the other two classes despite contributing a lot to the economy of Mauryan culture. Despite challenges, they were key contributors to the state's wealth through their diverse economic activities. So, Vaishyas were the key contributors of wealth because they held all the economic power, and their diverse economic activities funded the resources of the state. Now, position and treatment of Shudras. Shudras are considered to be the last in the hierarchy of the four Varnas. And what was their position and how were they treated in the Mauryan culture? Shudras were assigned low status jobs but were not slaves. They were free men under Mauryan law. So they were the people who did low status jobs. But it is not to be confused with the fact that Shudras were slaves. No, they were not slaves, they were free men under Mauryan law. And whatever services they did for the society, they were paid for it in cash or in kind. They had limited rights and were often subjected to poor treatment by the higher Varnas. So they had very limited rights. Their freedom and rights were very much restricted compared to the upper three Varnas, and sometimes they were victims of poor treatment by the other Varnas. Kautilya's policies aimed at providing them with some protections and opportunities for land acquisition. So Kautilya, the author of Arthashastra, framed some kind of policies with an aim to provide them with security and protection opportunities for land acquisition. Means they could acquire land, and their land protection grant was done by the empire by the emperor as stated in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Despite social stigma, some Sudras bore hostility toward the ruling classes, showing signs of early class tension. So, some Sudras had a lot of resentment towards the ruler, and they bore some kind of hostility towards the ruling class. Thus, we get signs of social tension during the Mauryan period. The economic reforms in agriculture slightly improved their condition by providing them with land opportunities. During the Mauryan period, Shudras got land acquisition opportunities, and thus the economic reforms in the agriculture slightly improved their condition by providing them with opportunities to have control over land resource. Now, dynamics of mixed caste. Not only the four Varnas, there were many other castes who were mixed, or their lineage could not be attributed towards a single caste only. The Mauryan society recognized multiple mixed castes, showing a complex social structure. So, not only the four Varnas, there were groups of mixed caste in the Mauryan society also. Marriages between different Varnas were regulated but not uncommon, indicating social flexibility. So it was not that one Varna woman married to the men of the same Varna only, even though it was not as much common as the marriage in between Varnas, but also it was not very uncommon. Thus, we get existence of social flexibility during the Mauryan period. The treatment and societal roles of this mixed caste varied, often based on their specific occupations and duties. So, their treatment was subjected to the activities or works they did in the society, and their societal role also varied according to their occupation. And thus, they could not be attributed a specific rank in the society, because their role or status in the society was often based on occupations and duties they performed. Kautilya's Arthashastra mentions specific rules and roles for these groups, reflecting a nuanced approach to social governance. So there was specific roles and duties mentioned for these mixed groups in Arthashastra. Their roles were essential in filling the gaps in social, economic, and administrative functions. So there were many kind of jobs in social, economic, and administrative field which could not be attributed to a specific caste only, and those gaps, those jobs were done by the mixed caste in the Mauryan economy. Status and role of women. What was the position of women in Mauryan culture? Women participated in social and religious functions and had some educational opportunities. So, women had educational opportunities, and it has been seen that they could perform quite with quite a certain amount of liberty in social and all kinds of religious functions also. Restrictions existed based on class, with upper strata women facing fewer restrictions compared to lower strata. So women of the higher status or women of higher caste had fewer restrictions compared to that of women in the lower caste. Buddhism offered a better status to women, with many becoming nuns. So, even though Buddhism in the beginning, in the early phase, resented the joining of nuns into the monastery, but still later on, Buddhism accepted nuns, and so Buddhism offered better status to women by making them nuns. A full video has been done on Buddhism and position of women. You can go through it in my last playlist. Widow remarriage and divorce were encouraged among Hindus, not so under Buddhist influence. So, among the Hindus, there were uh, instances, very few instances of widow remarriage that was discouraged during the later Vedic period onwards, but under the Buddhist influence there was existence of widow remarriage. Important roles included being spies and bodyguards, showing varied roles the women played in society. So women could become spies, and also they acted as bodyguards, showing that they performed various kinds of roles in the Mauryan society. Now, dress, diet, and entertainment. How was the dress? What kind of food they used to consume? And what were the entertainment activities performed in the Mauryan culture? Common attire included cotton garments both for men and women, while the wealthy adorned silk and woolen clothes in winter. So it was very common to wear cotton garments because it was very commonly available during the Mauryan times, while the wealthy people wore silk and woolen clothes in winter. Diet staples were rice, pulses, fruits, vegetables, and meat, signifying a diverse culinary culture. So there were all kinds of food, veg and non-veg available. However, it is to be mentioned that during the time of Ashok, there were significant amount of regulations done in the context of eating non-veg food, that is slaughtering animals. Diet staples were during the Mauryan times were mainly rice, pulses, fruits, vegetables, and meat. Entertainment was very much vibrant part of Mauryan society, with music, dance, and public festivals frequently mentioned in sources like Arthashastra. Even though during the Ashokan times the state religion was Buddhism, but still Ashok was quite tolerant of festivals of cultures from different parts of his empire. So the entertainment was very much a vibrant part of Mauryan society, with music, dance, and public festivals that were frequently organized as mentioned in all kinds of Mauryan sources. Drinking of liquor was included in social and ceremonial occasions, indicating its cultural acceptance. So people used to consume alcoholic products or liquor during the social and ceremonial occasions, thus it was occasionally culturally accepted process. Megasthenes noted the enjoyment of music and theatre as significant aspect of daily life, illustrating the cultural richness. So there was enjoyment of people done towards music, and theatre was also very much of a significant activity as noted in Megasthenes' in slavery. Was there any slavery in the Mauryan times? It is a matter of debate. However, from the sources, we come to know about a few things. Contrary to Megasthenes' observations that there were no slaves, the Arthashastra provides detailed laws governing slavery. So that may have been the later part of Arthashastra, which focuses on the laws regarding slavery. However, it is to be thought about that Megasthenes observed there were no slaves in the Mauryan society. Slaves could be made from prisoners of war or those in debt, showing varied sources of slavery. So there were different processes to acquire slaves. A few of notable processes to get slaves where they could be made from prisoners of war, or if any people were in debt, then if any people failed to fulfill their debt, then they could be made slaves. Slaves could buy their freedom, and masters were advised to treat them humanely, reflecting a structured yet compassionate approach to slavery. So, after a certain time, slave could say that I have fulfilled all my duties, and so you will have to give me freedom. And the owner was supposed to give them freedom, and it was advised to treat all the slaves with a humanly attitude, thus reflecting that people were very much compassionate towards slave, and it was not exploitation of labor even though there was slavery in a very limited amount. Ashok edicts encourage fair and human treatment on all subjects including slaves. According to Ashokan edicts, the prisoners of war were to be treated humanely and no punishment was to be given to them. So it can be said that even though there was limited slavery at the time of Chandragupta and Bindusar, at the time of Ashok there was no existence of slavery. The existence of various forms of slavery indicates a complex socio-economic structure uh, where slavery played a regulated yet significant role. So, whatever we come to know from slavery was from the Arthashastra. In Megasthenes Indica, he has quite properly mentioned that there were no slaves in the Mauryan society. Agricultural advances. Now we will focus on the economic activities of the Mauryan rule, and with that we start with the primary source of income during the ancient Indian period, that is agriculture. The primary crops during Mauryan period were rice, barley, millet, and significant emphasis was on the use of iron for tools like plows, enhancing productivity. So there were crops cultivated which is still cultivated in Indian subcontinent quite prominently, that is rice, barley, millet, and significant emphasis was given on the use of iron tools like plows, enhancing productivity. So use of iron tools were very much durable, more durable than the copper tools, hence they were used to make agricultural implements like plows. Kautilya's Arthashastra discusses the importance of irrigation, crop rotation, and soil management, underlining the sophisticated agricultural techniques. So, we get evidences of irrigation where water could be brought into the fields through proper artificial channels. There was existence of crop rotation, means a single plot of land could not be preserved for a single kind of cultivation only, and also there was proper efforts towards soil management so that the soil does not lose its fertility. Thus we get an underlining regarding the different kind of agricultural advances during the Mauryan period. Large scale water projects were noted with descriptions of canals and reservoirs to support farming. We get the evidence that Chandragupta Maurya constructed an entire dam to support irrigation in Junagadh, and that has been noted by a ruler Rudradaman who came almost 400 years after Chandragupta Maurya. So we can understand what kind of large scale water projects existed during the Mauryan time, and that cannot be ignored anyway. The state controlled major agricultural production, ensuring stability and advancement in food resources. So, the major agricultural production was more or less controlled by the state, which ensured that there was stability in the food resources. And from Ashokan inscriptions, we can also get evidences where storage facilities sometimes were recommended to be opened in order to support the people during the time of natural calamities. The focus on agricultural innovation was crucial for supporting the dense population of growing Mauryan cities and towns. So, this focus on agricultural innovation supported the growing population in the urban centers. Now, how was the urban development? How did the cities grow in the Mauryan Empire? Archaeological data and texts like the Arthashastra detailed planned urban settlements such as Taxila with systematic streets and public spaces. So, from the many excavations done in the sites of this period, we get to know a detailed plan of urban settlements in prominent archaeological sites like Taxila, Patliputra, Ujjain, and others. The spread of urban centers were driven by trade and administrative needs, facilitated by improvements in transportation and infrastructure. So, there were every kind of facilities given to an urban center, and most of the urban centers developed because of trading needs or administrative needs, and they were sophisticated further with improvements in transportation and infrastructure like roads or welfare activities. Major cities like Patliputra served as political and economic hubs, evidencing advanced urban planning. So, the capital of Mauryan period was Patliputra, and it served as a political and economic hub. And we also get an evidence of advanced planning from this capital city. Urban growth was closely linked to the economic and military strategies of Mauryan rulers. So, urban growth was directly potential with the growth in power and status of Mauryan ruler. Power as in military and status as in economic and resource status. The establishment of new towns and cities during the Mauryan era showcased a significant shift towards an organized and centralized states. So there were many new towns and cities which grew during the Mauryan era, and from that we get an evidence of a significant shift towards an organized centralized kind of governance. Industrial growth and development. What were the industries and how did it grow, and what were the initiatives taken towards the development of different kinds of industries? Industries such as textiles and metallurgy were prominent, with regions like Kamrup and Benares noted for their silk and wool production. So, this is very much significant to know that Kamrup and Benares were noted for their silk and wool production. And also, there were different other industries which focused on textiles and metallurgy. In fact, textiles and metallurgy were the most common form of industries during this period. The use of ivory and stone for crafting intricate artworks highlights the artistic capabilities and resource availability. So we see Mauryans encouraging the use of ivory, that is elephant's teeth and stone, for crafting different kinds of intricate sculptures, and thus highlighting is done on the artistic capabilities of the Mauryan people. Kautilya mentions specific crafts and their geographic specializations, reflecting a well organized sector of skilled labor. So, there were specialized craft production as mentioned in Kautilya's Arthashastra, and those specialized workers used to live in a specific geographical spot probably for enhancing their business. And thus, we get a reflection into the well organized sector of specialized units for different kinds of craft production. Technological innovations included advanced techniques in mining and metalwork, which was crucial for military and architectural advancement. So, there were many technological innovations done during this period that focused on mining and metalwork. In turn, it enhanced the military and architectural capabilities of the empire. Craftsmen and artisans were organized into guilds which regulated production standards and trade practices, ensuring quality and consistency of industrial output. So there were different kinds of trading organization, houses or guilds whose main purpose was to focus on the quality of specific types of trade. Now, trade networks and economic integration. What were the main trading routes and how did it enhance the economic condition of the Mauryan period? Extensive trade routes connected the Mauryan Empire with regions across Asia into Europe, promoting cultural and economic exchange. So, the Mauryans were connected to almost all the prominent regions in Asia and Europe directly or indirectly through different kind of trade routes, and thus there was a cultural and economic exchange in the various parts of the then world. Trading items included spices. As you know, India is known for spices, textiles, and precious metals, with specific mentions of trade practices and customs duties in Arthashastra. So, in Arthashastra, we even get to know about the customs duties which were enforced by the states on specific types of trading items like spices, textiles, or precious metals. Strategic positioning of cities like Ujjain, Taxila facilitated this trade network serving as commercial hubs. So there were urban centers through which the trade routes passed, and those urban centers were very much in strategic locations to facilitate commercial activities. Prominent examples of such urban centers are Ujjaini and Taxila. The state regulated trade and imposed tariffs to protect domestic industries and control foreign trade. So, foreign trade and internal trade both were very much regulated with the help of the state and policy of different kinds of tariffs which were implemented on different kinds of trade. The existence of professional guilds and trade overseers ensured that trade practices were fair and that economic policies supported widespread prosperity. So, specific people were there to look after this thing that overseed and ensured trading practices were fair and free of corruption. Role of guilds in the Mauryan economy. Now, as I have said, that there were specialized trading activities. So, those specialized trading activities had some kind of committee of elders who used to control them, and those committees were called as trading guilds. Guilds played an Guilds played a critical role in economic regulation and development, acting as early forms of regulatory bodies. So they were the trade regulatory bodies or unions which facilitated the fair conduct of trade. Thus, guilds played a critical role in economic regulation. The president of each guild held judicial and administrative authority, indicating a sophisticated level of organizational structure. So, the president or the head of the committee of elders in any sector of specialized trading activity had some respect of judicial and administrative authority that indicates to the sophistication of organizational hierarchy in the field of trade. Guilds were responsible for maintaining standards, training craftsmen, and ensuring the quality of goods, and illustrating a form of quality control and worker protection. So guilds had a number of responsibility like checking the quality of the products, checking the fairness in trading activities, and also they used to work for the workers' rights and protection. Payments to guilds and their role in taxation reflect their integral part in the economic framework of the Mauryan Empire. So there were payments done to guilds from the state, and also guilds used to play a major role in the collection and controlling of taxation policies of the empire. Thus we get to know that they were very much influential and powerful. The presence of guilds across various cities indicates a widespread organized economic system supporting various industries. So, guilds were present all throughout the empire, and thus we know that specific activities were there for specific geographical areas which supported the economy and trading aspect of Mauryan period. Now, monetary system and economic policy. What was the currency? How did the currency function during the Mauryan times? Introduction of standardized coinage facilitated trade and commerce, with punch mark coins being the most common. So, punch mark coins were the most common type of currency during the Mauryan period. It is a type of coin which I have discussed before, but still as a summary, I will say that it is a type of coin where symbols were punched on molten metal sheets so that those symbols acted as a representative of the state government, and it was stamped with a hammer, thus the name punch mark coins. The Mauryan state controlled the issuance of currency, which included coins made of gold, silver, and copper. So, the Mauryan state controlled the issuance of currency. All the coins were issued by the state, and thus the kind of gold, silver, and copper coins were also very much noted and regulated by the state itself. The Arthashastra mentions detailed regulations on the use of currency and measures against counterfeiting and fraud. So there were type of fake coins also sometimes circulated in the market, and Arthashastra mentions what are the steps the state could take in order to control counterfeiting and fraud. Salaries and prices were set up by the state, reflecting a centrally controlled economic policy. So all the salaries to all kind of officials were estimated by the state and were regulated by the state. Thus we get to know that there was extreme central control over the monetary resources of the state. Currency played a crucial role in the expansion and maintenance of the Mauryan Empire, supporting both domestic activities and foreign trade. So, currency was the chief form of economic exchange that supported both internal and external trade. So, summary of the social and economic landscape during the Mauryan times. The Mauryan period was marked by sophisticated social stratification and an advanced economy driven by agriculture, industry, and trade. The implementation of detailed legal and administrative system as described in Arthashastra shows the complexity and breadth of governance. The roles of various social classes were well defined, with each class contributing to the empire's stability and growth. Innovations in agriculture, urban planning, and industry facilitated not only economic prosperity but also cultural and technological advancements. The Mauryan era set the foundation of future Indian civilizations through its integration of diverse regions under a centralized governance and economic system. So that was all about the social and economic condition of people during the Mauryan period. I am making videos on detailed aspects of Indian history, trying to do it within a chronological framework. Please support me so that I can bring brighter contents in future. Thank you so much for your love and support.